objective box plots. So we're going to go through 5 definitions, and then we're going to talk about the pieces of a box plot. So definition number 1, a whisker represents 25% of the data. 25% or a quarter of the data. Definition number 2, the median. Now you've seen this word before. The middle value of data in numerical order, and it has to be in numerical order. This separates the data into upper and lower halves, or upper and lower quartiles. The median is sometimes called Q2 quartile, or the second quartile. Definition number 3, Q1, the first quartile, or the lower half, the lower quartile, is the median of the lower half of the data. Definition number 4, Q3, the third quartile, or sometimes called the upper quartile, is the median of the upper half of the data. Definition number 5, interquartile range. Now you've seen the word range before, and that's the difference between the maximum and the minimum. This is the interquartile range. It is the difference between the first and third quartiles. If you take the upper quartile, subtract the lower quartile, you get the IQR, interquartile range. We abbreviate IQR. Vic number 1. Box plots are commonly used to show the spread of data. We can see whether there's outliers, how close the data is, or far apart using a box plot. Definition number 6, a box plot is a graph used to show groups of numerical data through their 5 number summaries, the minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. It is useful in identifying if there are any outliers. Vic number 2, a box plot divides the data into 4 equal parts, even though sometimes it may not appear that way. So let's look at the pieces. Now that we have the definitions. So the minimum farthest to the left, the lowest point, and the maximum farthest to the right, the highest data value. Now the 2 whiskers divide this into, it shows 25% of the data. So 25% here and 25% there. Also, we have the interquartile range. Q3 minus Q1 gives us the interquartile range. Q1, the first quartile, the value is here. Q3, the third quartile, or the upper and the lower quartiles. And then the median is exactly in the middle of the data. All right. So we're going to talk about how do you create a box plot. How to make a box plot. Example number 1. Here's our data. First step, find the median. So we have to put the data into numerical order to find the median. Now we mark off low and high until we reach the middle value. And in this case, since we have an even number of data, we have 2 middle values. So we'll find the mean of the 2 middle values. So to find the mean of them, you add them together and divide by 2. 13 and 14 divided by 2 is 13.5. So this is the median for the set of data, 13.5. Step number 2, break the data into 2 equal halves and find the median of the upper and lower halves. So we're looking for what is Q1, the lower quartile, and what is Q3, the upper quartile. So here's our data, and if we split it into 2 halves, here's the lower half and the upper half. So to find the median of this data, we're again going to mark off low and high until we reach the middle value, or the 2 middle values. In this case, we have 12 twice. So 12 plus 12, 24, divided by 2, again is 12. So Q1, or the median of the lower half, is 12. The upper half, so here's our data. We're going to mark off a low and a high until we reach the middle value, or the 2 middle values. 15 plus 16 is 31 divided by 2, because we're finding the mean of these values. And we get 15.5 as our median. Q3, this is the value for Q3, the upper quartile. Step 3, identify the minimum and maximum values. So these are pretty easy to see. Our numbers are already in order. The lowest is the minimum, the highest is the maximum. So we have our 5-number summary. The median, 13.5, Q1 is 12, Q3 is 15.5, the minimum is 10, and the maximum is 20. Now the IQR is the interquartile range. It is not part of our 5-number summary, but it's easy to calculate because we have Q3 and Q1. So we say Q3 subtract Q1, 15.5 minus 12, and we get 3.5 as our IQR, or interquartile range. Now to actually draw the box plot, you need a number line so you can see where these data fall. And we can first plot the minimum. So our minimum was 10. Here I have marked 10 on my number line. You mark the box plot just above the number line, not actually on it. Q1 is 12, so I draw another line for 12. Q3 was 15.5, so here's 14 and 16. Halfway would be 15, so halfway between 15 and 16 is 15.5, Q3. And the median, 13.5. Halfway, halfway, so 13.5 is here, the median, and sometimes we call that Q2. And I've labeled the IQR is the difference between Q3 and Q1. If we subtract these two, 15.5 minus 12, this is the IQR. Now, once you've drawn your 5 lines, these two are the whiskers, and this part makes the box. This number in the middle is your median.